Okay, today I'm going to talk about 3 obstacles people encounter on the spiritual path. Now, maybe I don't really like to talk about lists in this way because it engages the mind, the practical mind, too much. But for the sake of this video, it does seem it's quite useful, because then we can kind of see whether we lean towards one or all 3 or none at all, in which case you can either carry on listening or go and enjoy the park or the forest or beingness. But here we are. So let me talk a little bit about the 3 obstacles on the spiritual path. Number 1, seeking an escape from life. Number two, attachment to spiritual identity. Number 3, resistance to discomfort. That about covers it, really, I think. Seeking an escape from life. Many people embark on the spiritual journey hoping to transcend suffering or bypass the messiness of the human experience. But true awakening is not an escape, but a deeper intimacy with life as it is. I can't say this too much or often enough, that it's absolutely correct. That if we're seeking an escape from life, a way of transcending the mess of the human experience, we're going to get extremely frustrated, because it doesn't really work like that. It may work temporarily, it may work a little bit, but it usually tends to lean towards bypassing if that's the case. And it becomes a kind of mindy idea of there is no suffering, there is nobody here, there's nothing really, to get het up about. I mean, maybe on a vastly true, absolute level, that's accurate in many ways, but we still, we have to live here. We're still living here, whether we've transcended or not. There's still a human vehicle moving around in the world with bodily functions and relational sort of activities in the world. We still have to live here. We still have to go to the shops. Usually we still have to relate with other people, at least on some kind of level. The human experience is messy. It's full of suffering. It hurts. It gets in the way of spirituality. And so, there's a sort of, either an unconscious or just a deep desire to escape it. And that's an obstacle. That is an obstacle, because you're not going to escape it. It's inescapable. It comes, and if you open in life and surrender in life, something new comes in, because it also wants to come home. The messiness of our experience, the suffering of our experience, actually wants to come home to the love that we are. And it can't really be avoided. At least, that's what I'm talking about. Here, this kind of spirituality is the nuts and bolts spirituality of the mess of the human experience, and how to open to it without without resigning to it, if you like, and that means that the heart has to open to the messiness and the suffering of it. And so just seeking an escape from it only takes us so far. So that's the first one. attachment to a spiritual identity, which comes on the back of the first one quite easily, that if we've done enough spiritual work, and whatever that might be, meditation, yoga, any of the methods, modalities, or simply we've realized some aspect of our spiritual nature, and then it's easy to become the spiritual one. The ego can subtly reform around a new identity, the awakened one, the healer, the spiritual person. This creates division and keeps us from true openness. I'll never forget when I first came to spirituality, and I didn't know anything. I was really raw, but I thought I'd discovered something. This was like back in the mid-90s or something like that. And I attempted to spiritualize some of my friends, or a couple of my friends, and I was laughed out of the room. It was like, you stop being an idiot, they said to me. How arrogant of me. And it was a bit of specialness, because I'd found something. There's nothing special about the spiritual path. It has got no egoic specialness, neither above nor below. It is as it is. And so, we really have to be careful about taking on a spiritual identity and it becoming us, and we start, posturing, secretly posturing as the spiritual one, as though we've kind of attained a level of understanding or insight or awareness, and that somehow makes us really secretly better than somebody else. You're better than that person over there who's still just lost in the matrix. They're unconscious and they don't really have a clue. That doesn't serve anything. It doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve the world. It doesn't serve love, and it doesn't serve awakening. In fact, it kind of gives it a bad reputation, really. Humility in everything. Yeah, humility isn't a weakness. Humility is a strength. Humility is an awareness that sees the suchness of things, that sees life, that doesn't measure so much. It's not judging, you as above or you as below. This is not what the spiritual path is all about. It's just not. It's a much deeper humility and grace and awareness, falling into silence, really. Silence has its own language. Silence sees but doesn't judge. Silence is equanimous. To be equanimous, and to that equanimity is the end, really, of a spiritual identity. And then that brings us to the third one, which is a very big one. Resistance to discomfort. Growth requires meeting discomfort without running away from it. Pain, uncertainty, and even feelings of loss are not signs of failure, but invitations to go deeper. There's a lot in that. Resistance to discomfort comes, goes circles back to the first one, seeking an escape from life. We're not very good at dealing with our discomfort. The master is one who has learned to not move away from discomfort, neither to give it a big fat story, and not to really do anything with it. The less we do with discomfort, the more it dissolves of its own accord. It's not doing that's required when it comes to discomfort, it's being. There's a very different quality, to be and be and be. And it may take a long time to learn that. It may take a lot of being. It may take a lot of meditation or opening or just sitting with, because we're so habituated to doing, doing, that we don't realize that being is just enough, that being holds the whole world ultimately. And So, you know, those are the three. Those three, and seeking an escape from life, attaching to a spiritual identity, and resistance to discomfort. You know, these three, you know, when they're brought to conscious awareness, something happens to us. Yeah, something starts to shift in us, and we stop being deluded, if you like, stop being so hoodwinked by the spiritual path, and actually start getting down to the reality of what is actually going on.